you know, the clapback stuff, you know, he really goes for it. And I think it's quite amusing most of the time. And when we was in Rio, we've never really, one of the problems with these relationships is we don't really speak. So all you see is online interviews, me slagging him off, him slagging me off. And it's like, you're only going to dislike someone. But then when you kind of have a chat and then all of a sudden, look, let's put all this behind us, almost like His Excellency, like he did with me and Frank. Then you actually start spending time with people. Like generally you find, actually, all right, actually, like that mind you. And that was the same with me and Frank.
Jake Paul seems convinced that he's the new face of boxing. Why? Because, in his view, the real face of the sport, Mexican icon Saul Canelo Alvarez, refuses to fight him. This supposed snub hasn't gone down well with the problem child, who took to social media to vent his frustration. But Paul didn't just call out Canelo for dodging him. He took it a step further, questioning his Mexicanness and downplaying his legacy in the sport.
Would you ever do like exhibitions like that, or like people like Jake Paul call you out, or these like other big stars? Like, is that business-wise like even worth it?
When I'm done with boxing, why not? Maybe I'll do it. I think it's
like when you're done like competing at the highest level, you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's good because what happened there is other people who never watch boxing, or they don't know anything about boxing, they wanna watch Jake Paul because he's coming from he bring fans from other world.
Jake Paul didn't hold back in his recent rant, accusing Canelo Alvarez of dodging him and calling him a slave, with no respect for the Mexican people who support him in the US. Paul claimed that Alvarez had done nothing for the sport of boxing outside the ring, and boldly declared that he himself is the new face of boxing. He emphasized that the biggest fight of 2025 can't happen without his name attached, and when all the events flounder and lose money, people will recognize who the true king of the sport is. At just 28 years old, Paul continued to assert his dominance, bragging about being the biggest fight in boxing history, and running his own career without being owned by anyone. He added that despite the criticism from others hoping to see him fail, he's destined for success. It's the era of good, the era of the elephant. It's the era of MVP, Paul wrote, alongside a photoshopped image of Canelo kneeling before him in the ring.
Hello, you puta.
And this YouTuber, I just fight real fighters.
Time to expose them. So we had a signed contract to fight. Here you can see Canelo's signature and my signature to the right, claiming he's not fighting YouTubers. Bullshit. Look at the poster. We were announcing Tuesday, February 11th, claiming he fights real fighters, but he's fighting Crawford, a 135-pound fighter, and running from a real fighter like David Benavidez, you. The truth is, you can be bought. You're a money-hungry squirrel chasing your next nut. The truth is, these sports-washing shady characters are paying you hundreds of millions of dollars to stop our fight.
But why did Jake Paul launch such a vicious attack on Canelo Alvarez, seemingly out of nowhere? Well, it wasn't entirely unprovoked. In reality, the two were deep in negotiations for a potential boxing match. The idea made sense. Canelo, despite giving up size to Paul, would have likely had an easy night against the problem child. And for Alvarez, the payday could have been one of the biggest of his career, given Paul's ability to generate buzz and sell fights. That's why the sudden news of Alvarez backing out has left the boxing world stunned. Just a day before, Matchroom boxing promoter Eddie Hearn, who has close ties to the Mexican superstar, told Boxing News that the fight seemed close to being finalized. However, it now appears that Canelo may have simply used Paul as leverage to lock in a deal for a much more deserving opponent.
I'm biased because I like Canelo Alvarez, and that's just being honest. And I think what he has done in his career, he's proven everything, right? His resume is unbelievable. And if you want to make 100 million to fight Jake Paul, right? Like the thing is about Canelo, he don't tell any lies. He's very transparent, right? He's not going to try and justify this fight to you that, no, what I'm doing is I'm doing it to bring boxing to a wider audience. No, he's doing it for a sackload of money. So whenever you put an opponent forward to Canelo Alvarez, his question is, how much?
Jake Paul and Canelo Alvarez, two fighters who stand on opposite ends of the boxing spectrum. One is a social media disruptor turned boxer, determined to prove he belongs in the sport. The other is a seasoned champion, respected for his skill, discipline, and legacy. Their worlds were never meant to collide, yet here they are, caught in a heated exchange of words, accusations, and what is rumored to be a multi-million-dollar negotiation. What started as speculation has now turned into a public feud, with Paul relentlessly calling out Canelo and Alvarez, seemingly using the situation to his advantage. Whether this was ever a serious fight in the making or just a bargaining tool, one thing is clear. This clash has captured the attention of the boxing world, even if it never happens in the ring.
Canelo said last week on the pod.
Yeah, he said on this.
He pretty
pod.
much said he'd be down to do it.
Exactly, and when I said it 2 years ago, people were like, "Oh, this kid's a fucking joke. He's an idiot." One of my first videos in the boxing world was calling out Conor McGregor, and people were like, "Oh, you're an idiot." But guess what? Now Conor McGregor needs me just as much as I would need him to make a big fight. It's a 50-50 deal. So it's like, at first I seem crazy, but yes, that I am crazy. People say like, "Yo, what? This kid's out of his mind. This kid's crazy." Yeah, maybe that's what you're missing, people, is you don't push yourself. You don't have big ideas. If your goals don't scare you, then what the fuck are you doing? Yeah, like, I am crazy, and look where I've gotten because of that, because of large thinking.
At the heart of the drama, a supposed contract, a last-minute betrayal, and a Saudi-backed deal that snatched Alvarez away at the 11th hour. Paul, never one to back down from a public feud, recently claimed on social media he had proof that Canelo was ready to fight him, until money changed everything.
I mean, as of right now, for what he's doing, it's good for what he's doing. But once he fights a real fighter, it's going to be bad.
Have you been impressed?
But one thing I like about him, one thing I do like about him, he's selling it. He's selling it, and he's making good money, and he's entertaining. I like it.
For months, whispers in the boxing world suggested something big was brewing. Earlier this week, reports surfaced that Paul and Alvarez were finalizing a bout for May 3rd at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Then, just as quickly as the deal came together, it vanished.
Everyone's biggest critique is like, fight a pro, fight this person, fight someone your age. So when I say Canelo is the person, then everyone hates on that. But I'm like, all right, sheep, what do you want? People just want to see me lose. So wouldn't the best opportunity to see me lose be going up against Canelo?
Absolutely.
People will never be satisfied with my career until I get fucking flatlined. Then they're going to be happy. So what excuse does the audience have? Does Canelo have when that happens?
Canelo Paul's response? A fiery social media outburst aimed directly at Canelo Alvarez. Paul didn't just call him out. He claimed to have proof that Alvarez had agreed to fight him. Time to expose him, Paul wrote, sharing what he alleged was a signed contract featuring both their signatures. He mocked Alvarez for previously stating he wouldn't fight YouTubers, calling it bullshit, while pointing to a promotional poster supposedly announcing the fight for February 11. Paul then took aim at Canelo's choice of opponents, accusing him of ducking real challenges. He criticized Alvarez for fighting Terence Crawford, a former 135-pound champion, while allegedly avoiding a more dangerous opponent like David Benavidez. Not holding back, Paul ended his rant by calling Canelo a butch and claiming, "The truth is, you can be bought."
How easy of a fight is Jake Paul? How easy of a fight is Jake Paul?
I don't want to say any bad things. I think he doing good things for his own team, but boxing is a little bit different when you fight in a real fighter.
I feel that.
While Turki Alalshikh, the driving force behind some of boxing's biggest recent matchups, wasn't exactly sold on the idea of Paul versus Alvarez. In fact, he dismissed it outright. Taking a sarcastic jab during an interview with ESPN, he quipped, "I think Canelo is too young to take this fight. You can have it after 30 years, when Canelo is 60. Was this a dig at Paul's controversial matchup against Mike Tyson? Possibly. But Alalshikh wasn't done stirring the pot. Rather than pushing for a Canelo fight, he floated a completely different spectacle. Jake Paul versus MrBeast, the world's biggest YouTuber. Let them bring MrBeast and we can sanction it with Disney for the belt of YouTube, he joked. Everyone will subscribe and see it. Whether he was serious or just mocking the state of influencer boxing, one thing was clear. He wasn't taking Paul's fight with Canelo seriously. A fight against MrBeast, as ridiculous as it sounds, would undoubtedly generate massive viewership and millions in revenue for Jake Paul. Alalshikh is well aware of this, and his sarcasm hints at a larger reality. Paul's true talent might not lie in pure boxing ability, but in crafting headline-grabbing spectacles. Love him or hate him, the problem child has a knack for turning setbacks into viral moments, keeping himself at the center of the conversation. So, what's next for Jake Paul? Will he pivot back to influencer boxing for another blockbuster showdown? Or will he keep taking shots at Canelo Alvarez in hopes of securing the biggest fight of his career? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.